frickin' crap.
Mac, there's no need to yell, man. You frightened me. I'm telling you right now.
That was way too loud. I'll tone it down. Holy frickin' crap, and welcome to another edition of the Mackcast. And we got a great one. We got a special one for you fans out there. Whoever's listening, I know you're listening. Whoever you are, I know who you are. And you're listening right now. And I just want to dedicate this one to the ladies. This official Mackcast goes out to the ladies with Monster Mac. We got training number 1 here, as always.
That's right, Mac. I'm not going to lie. I have no idea what you're talking about. You just kind of rambled as soon as it started.
I'm dedicating this podcast to the ladies. What are you talking about?
I heard that, fine. But what the hell did you talk about? What did you say before that?
I was saying I know the people are out there listening.
But then you said you didn't know.
No, I said I did know them, and I know who's listening.
All of them?
Yeah, that's them right now. We're talking to them.
I got you. So, Mac, after whatever you say, tonight we got part 2 with Scott Levesque. Scott Levesque in the house, everybody.
Part 2.
Ooh, now we're gonna get into the good stuff, right?
Name dropping.
We're gonna drop some names tonight. But before we drop those names, we're gonna talk a little Mac news. Mac, you got any news?
Well, my news is we got Scott Levesque on the Mackcast. 2nd edition. We told you fans that we would bring him back. Top off some more excellent stories. Back by popular demand, may I add, Scott Levesque. You're winning in the ratings. Oh, wait a minute. I believe Peter Crave's still on.
No, my friend. Scott Levesque has taken the lead in the ratings war. He's the newest podcast with the most downloads. How does that feel so far, Scott Levesque?
Feels great, actually.
You're big. The fact is, nobody wants to hear what Trevor has to say. Only some people want to talk to Crave, listen to Crave, and nobody likes Eric Dillon. Everyone wants to hear what Levesque's got on his mind.
That's awesome.
I'm pretty excited about that. Now, do you take that as because you're like a kind of like a reserved dude for the most part?
Yeah. I'm very quiet, shy.
And people want to know like who you're gonna make fun of and
Who I shit on.
Yeah, pretty much. No, it's okay. You can, shit flies in the Mackcast, my friend. You can say that. I'm fine with that.
Well, also going back to the same rule, you're allowed 3 F-bombs.
Okay,
it's
no
back
cursing.
in play.
No cursing. I
Well,
promise.
I upgraded it. It's the 2nd podcast with Scott Levesque, so we upgraded it to 3 F-bombs. So where did we leave off last, Mackcast? I believe it was...
Skipped over the Mac news.
Oh, yeah, the Mac news. I got some great Mac news. We got the Wizard of Oz episode up. For you fans, it's about time. We waited like 2 years.
Way more than 2 years, Mac.
Maybe 3, I don't know.
Even more than that, Mac. It's been at least, hold on, let me break this down in my brain. 5+ years since we filmed that episode.
It's been 5+ years, but we finally got it out to you fans, and I hear it's doing pretty good with the views. I'm pretty happy. And perfect timing because you got a new Wizard of Oz movie coming out.
Our movie is just, our episode is just like that really expensive movie that you're going to see, except without the dude from Your Highness and the chick from that 70s show, and none of the special effects, and Trevor plays a scarecrow, and everything is filmed on a VHS.
Yeah, so yeah, pretty much with a wonderful blue screen from the BCC studios. But yeah, so you fans, if you haven't seen it, I would definitely check it out because a big storm hits the studio and I get sent into Oz and I meet all the wonderful, crazy characters. But forget about that because that's all the Mac news I have. So, no, don't forget about it. But you'll...
Listen to this while you watch
No, listen to this, and then immediately after listening to this, watch that. Because we got Scott Levesque here on the Mackcast. Where did we leave off last time, Levesque? You just, what was it?
no idea, do
You just entered ACW.
You tell me.
ACW just folded.
No.
And it made the transition into Whaling City Wrestling.
No.
That was not it at all, my friend.
Okay,
Not even
so
close, man.
Luckily, we got the fact checker is not in the house, but luckily, Training Number 1 is sitting on the side of me, and I'll tell you, fans, he definitely knows the facts.
Maybe, Mac. But no, where we left off, I believe, is when Scott Levesque pretty much gave up his booking rights to ACW in the soccer. No, not the New Bedford Soccer Center. Yes, in the New Bedford Soccer Center. Mm-hmm. Those are all words coming out. New Bedford Soccer Center. That's where we left off, right?
Yes, sir.
So this is where we're gonna pick up, Scott Levesque.
Mm-hmm.
I got your synopsis here from the notes. Was this
please.
all week? All week long?
All
You
week
worked on
at
these
work,
notes?
yeah.
At work, you're just jotting down ideas,
Mhm.
and then kind enough to write a synopsis for me
Yeah.
and Mac. That way we're not coming in here blind like we usually. We have no idea. We're just coming to talk, really, is what the deal is. So we're going to start from scratch and hitting the reset button on your character.
So basically, I saw all my friends leave.
Now, what would you consider your character before that point? Like while you were wrestling Mac?
I was the ACW champion.
Right.
No real character. Just once in a while, I used.
You were pissed? You were just an angry guy?
I was just an angry dude.
Angry
at all
Scott
times.
Levesque at all times.
I believe I actually made up a character for you.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, you're going to mention it, aren't you?
Yeah. I don't have to mention it if you don't want.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
But I forgot how it went.
Like
But
Scott
somehow
Levesque was overcompensating for something.
he was
He was
that's
driving
what
these
it was.
large Hummers.
Yeah, you're driving
Right?
large Hummers.
Compensating for what?
Just mad all the time. And we used to make the joke that Scott Levesque was pissed off because he got the little thing. You know what I mean? The little wang.
A small schmaker.
I've never heard Schmeka before, but that was the idea that we came
And
up
I think
with.
we're going to shoot a vignette or something where after a match, Scott Levesque's in the shower, showering.
Changing, yeah.
You know, in the shower, he comes out. Before he puts on his towel around his waist, Monster Matt comes in.
Yeah.
You know, we lock eyes, and he
Oh.
looks down to my crotch, looks back at me, locks, you know.
Now, was Monster Matt going to be naked too, and you were going to look down at his
No, he
crotch
had
like,
his
"Ooh, look at
towel
that
on.
way?
I was fully naked. I would have been naked.
just balls out. So that sounds like we should film that now, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
We have way better capabilities at this point. We make a way better skit for online.
But we might need a stunned cock because
Whoa, dude,
we
Jesus.
can't. I can't drop the seatbelt.
No, but we're not going to show it, man. Gee, that's the illusion. The
I'm
illusion.
trying to put over Scott Levesque, letting the people know that it's not true.
Listen. That
It's not, by the way. No.
Yeah. Oh man. So off the wang talk, we're gonna talk a little. You step down from booking.
Willingly step down.
Willingly.
I give the book
You weren't
to,
forced out. That's what
No,
you're trying to
no.
get that over.
I'm getting that over. I
You weren't
gave
forced
the
out.
book to Sean Candido.
Right now, looking at what's going on now, do you think that the reason that there's beef between Candido and Dave and the split that happens later down the road has something to do with you? It's all your fault
No, I don't think so.
for giving.
I think
Candido the
I
booking?
bettered the whole product
Yeah.
by giving the whole book to Sean Candido.
Really, you thought his ideas as a whole, like putting
Yeah.
everything together, was better than you adding
Yeah.
some input?
Yeah.
Really?
Because it was his idea to move to the VFW, you know?
Right. This is
Um,
later on, right? Of course.
Yeah. Basically, my friends left.
Yeah, that's us. And Jive
all
and
the-
Chad.
You know,
Oh, a bunch of people left too, right? Didn't Bloodstone and William Thorne leave around that time too?
yeah, around that time, too. So
That was a whole other.
I had no incentive to, like, being a booker. It was just a headache. Dudes calling me. Dudes I didn't even, like, know
Right.
were calling me randomly. You know, complaining about the angles and stuff. So it was just a headache. So I just wanted to focus on
you
being
had
a
no
wrestler.
interest. You just wanted to work
Yeah.
instead of actually being like
A booker,
book a
yeah.
man.
Mhm.
So you give the hook up to Candido, and you go to the New Bedford Soccer Center and you start fresh.
Yep. I hit the reset button, starting from scratch, starting from the bottom, basically. And before this, I was just initially trained by Mike Edwards.
Right.
And
He jobbed to Papa Shango a couple times on
He
TV.
jobbed to Papa Shango
Right.
on Monday Night Raw in 1993.
You have that on tape, I'm sure.
I don't have it on tape, but
You
I've watched
don't
it many
have-
times
I
at his
cannot.
house.
At his
Yeah,
house.
Yeah.
This is me jobbing at Papa Shango. Which, listen, if I dropped the Papa Shango tomorrow, that would be on loop in my
Vince
house.
McMahon on commentary kept on putting him over how hairy he was.
Mike
That was
Edwards, one hairy
dude.
son of a gun.
He mentioned it at least twice.
That's kind of a
Yeah,
outlandish. That's not really something to be proud of. Is all I'm saying.
Good gimmick. I like that.
So you were initially trained by
Mike
Mike
Edwards.
Edwards. You got the basics down,
Running
You-
the ropes, taking a bump, you know, all the levels of bumping.
and then you learn as you go
grappling.
to some
You know,
stuff. Like
yeah,
as you
as I wrestled, like each match, I would just learn on the road. I guess, you know.
right
Then enter Brickhouse Baker.
now, Baker comes in. Initially, he's not wrestling. He kind of just shows up
Then
to
he-
watch the shows, right?
Initially, he started watching the shows at ACW.
Yeah.
Then he actually makes his debut in the Soccer Center. And that's when we actually initially had trainings every week at the soccer center with Brickhouse Baker.
Right, I
And
remember
we ran
that.
trainings, and I was there every week.
I remember you took us a few times. We went up a few times to train with Brickhouse.
Yeah, I ran a few spots in that training. I remember that.
Now, what was the differences between like a Mike Edwards training and a Brickhouse training?
I can't remember because
How long
you're
ago
talking
it was?
Mike Edwards over 10 years ago. You know?
Yeah.
It wasn't really in depth, you know.
The Mike Edwards training, you're saying?
It wasn't in depth. So we all thought we were superstars anyway. Backyard wrestling.
I think that's just how everybody's brain
Yeah,
works.
exactly.
When they're doing that. Yeah,
We all had egos.
yeah.
You know, we thought like we were the best or whatever. So we didn't really like focus on training, you know. So I went to training with my Brickhouse
Brickhouse, yep.
starting from scratch. All these other dudes like Havoc, Mack Echo, Sire, all bounced.
Everybody, just as
Yeah.
soon as training got introduced, those guys dipped out. Is that what you're
Yeah.
saying? Now, who was in that first training class with Brickhouse with you?
I remember Huey was there, H-Dog McGraw.
Yeah.
Now, currently, Mr. Monroe. He was there. Brandon Webb was there. David Baker was there.
No, I wasn't around during that time. When I went to a few trainings here and there to try to get back in a little bit. I worked a few battles royals we mentioned before. But the guys that you were saying that dipped out, like Havoc and the franchise, Brian Sire, I laugh when I say the franchise. Did that affect their booking, or like? Because I know that they were buddies with Dave Oliver, and sometimes they were getting booked just because of the friendship going on. When did it actually change where a lot of these top rope guys or Yankee guys at the time were coming in?
I'm not sure about this, but I think around the same time that I gave up the book
Yeah.
to Sean Candido, guys like Havoc, who is currently like the champion for ACW, bounced. Mack Echo, bounced. Chris Cruz, bounced. Brian Sire, bounced.
So pretty much there was like a big change.
They didn't want to
on
learn. They didn't want.
the talent,
They didn't
yeah.
want to start all over. You know what I'm saying?
I see.
Chris Cruz left? Really?
I think so.
I don't know,
But
I
Sean
mean-
Candido had big plans for him. I think Sean Candido actually had plans for Mack Echo. Actually, you know,
Really?
he saw
Did
potential in
Havoc
him.
leave as champion?
I think he got suspended or something. I'm not
Swearing at the
sure.
show.
Swearing, you know,
Doing something ridiculous.
he had a big temper.
Now
so-
I don't feel as bad leaving as the champion.
Yeah. Yeah.
You should, Mac. You should, because now you're in the same category.
Exactly, but yeah, okay. You make me. Now I feel bad.
It feels bad all over again.
So I think Havoc left.
Yeah.
Then
Havoc's
they
gone.
vacated the belt. and
Yeah.
They had a big tournament or some shit.
Who was the first? Who was the champion? Do you remember who won the tournament?
I believe it was Chris Pyro.
Pyro. So he was the interstate champion and the heavyweight champion. Did that happen?
He might have lost.
He
it,
might have
or
lost
maybe
the
he
interstate belt.
vacated that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think he won it, and then he vacated the interstate championship.
Okay. Now this time you start training with Brickhouse. You get the new fresh start. You start doing the sensational Scott Levesque thing.
Yeah.
Where do you get that idea from? For the sensational
Initially,
to be the over
I
the
think
top, like
I might have been Superstar Scott Levesque at first.
right,
Sean Candido came in.
because he's superstar Sean Candido.
Mm-hmm. And I think out of respect for him, even though I was Booker at the time and
Booker
I was
man.
champion
Yeah.
at the time, just out of respect, I just gave up the name
Right.
and just went by Scott Levesque. And I was thinking of, I need a moniker of some sort. And around the same time in 2007, at the soccer center, I think Sensational Sherry just died.
She just passed away. Yeah.
And I was like, wait a minute, Sensational Scott Levesque. There's a ring to that, you know? So I started using that.
Now was that kind of like a homage to
It
Sensational
was-
Sherry, or
It was in a way.
like paying
you know?
respect to the fact that she had just passed? And
Oh, definitely. I think it was, yeah.
And sensational.
And she was a wild woman.
That
so
is
then I
very
started,
true.
You know, using the wild mannerisms that I'm known for now. You know.
And I was going to say, and sensational Scott Levesque sounds good. That also
Yeah.
was a good reason.
it rolls well. So you get the sensational Scott Levesque. You're still using that to this day. So how many years ago was that? How long have you been sensational?
It's 13 now. I used it 07, so 6 years.
So you've been sensational.
And I had no idea.
You've
by
been
the way. I just wanna
sensational
make
for a long time,
for the
all right?
record, I had no idea there's another indie guy in this area using the Sensational Scott name.
Is there?
Sensational Scott Reed, yeah.
I had no idea
no clue.
either.
I didn't follow the indies at that time.
Listen,
so
I completely. People say the same shit about Monster Mack taking the name from the guy from ROH, when really he took it from the same place the guy from ROH took it from, Sir Mix-a-Lot. And the Sir Mix-a-Lot song, Monster Mack, it's all like a crazy-ass song. Mack got his name from there, and people, like, still to this day, like, Twitter, we get random trash talk every here and there, like, oh, you guys stole your name from that Jersey All-Pro guy.
Well, I only assume that he got his name from Sir Mix-a-Lot because he spells it the same way that Sir Mix-a-Lot, the actual song, spelled with the monster ending with the A. Monster.
yeah,
Mack.
fuck him, right?
Yeah,
Who cares?
no.
That's one down. I'm not saying that, man. I'm just saying, like, people who are out there, like, you don't know the full story. Monster Mack was Monster Mack before I met him, and I met him in the year, like, 2000. And he had been doing it previous to that, doing the gimmick previous to that. So to say that, like, you know, just being accused of stealing somebody's gimmick.
Oh, no one accused me of anything.
No, I know. I'm just saying, like,
Yeah.
on our part, being accused of stealing the gimmick when clearly we're nothing similar to that guy. Like, 0% similarity.
Now, my question to you, Scott Levesque, is, when did the robes kick in? As soon as Scott Levesque turned sensational, did he start adding some fancy robes to his wardrobe?
What do you mean by robes?
Well, you got the... Is it just your first one?
This is like
he's crazy, man. Yeah. That's what he means.
The Nature Boy robe.
So
yeah,
this year, then, is it the
Sensational Boy robe is brand new, man. So
it's pretty.
That robe look going on.
I think you did like vests for a while.
Vests for a while, yeah.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
It was a nice vest.
I remember you texting me one day and asking me where you can get leather vests from. Like, for some reason, I would have the idea, the leather vest hookup. I just suggested the place, in some place in our area, the Hot Leathers.
Leathers, yeah.
Hot Leathers, some weird name.
I actually went there and bought my first leather vest there.
Yeah, first Levesque vest.
Thank you, by the way.
You're
for the hookup.
welcome. You're welcome. Not a problem, my friend. All right, we're going to get a little back. What are you going to say?
No, we're going to stay on that subject. My question is, how much did what I mentioned you wearing the robes and whatnot.
Yeah.
Your new robe that you recently
new robe,
got,
yeah.
your sensational robe.
Uh-huh.
What are we looking at for the price? How much
Dude,
did
why are you
you
going to put me
spend?
on the spot?
Did you spend thousands like Ric Flair?
I don't want to look like a mark and tell
right,
you how
well,
much I spent on
You
that.
spent so much money, we'll have to keep it on the down
Yeah,
low.
please, yeah.
All right, I apologize, Scott Levesque.
For my
You don't-
one booking a month,
If you
I
don't tell
bought
me, if you don't tell me right now, Scott Levesque, I am going to assume that you spent $4,000 on that robe. There it is. There's your answer,
yeah.
ladies and gentlemen. $4,000, and it's a pretty robe. I mean, that's a
it's pretty sweet.
real
man.
diamonds, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So you get the sensational name. You sensational Scott Levesque. You're working with Brickhouse. Brickhouse takes you under his wing.
I'm training with Brickhouse at first. He sees potential in me.
Right.
And I remember one of the trainings, like my old friend Mike Quinn from RDW.
Right. Yep.
Like,
I remember Quinn. Quinn's a good dude. I had a pretty
He
decent
is.
match with him.
He's a
back
funny
in the
dude,
day.
you know. He's very good. He had lots of potential, and I remember him going to one of the trainings with Will Thorne, and
Yeah.
for whatever reason, he wasn't on his game that day.
Just completely
You
off.
know, and he was like so off, and he just got so discouraged, and he just never came back. And I think that was the last time he ever did anything in wrestling. So
Really? Wow. So you ruined it for him.
I didn't ruin anything for him. But
I always have give Mark Quinn props for his promo skills. I thought he was a
so
really
good,
promo guy.
so good.
I remember him.
So much
and,
potential.
Mercury, was it Bloodstone's brother?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's Bloodstone's brother.
They did a song together, Parry and the Queen, "We Are the Champions." And
Oh, they were tag team
actually,
champions or something,
yeah,
right?
they
Oh, I
actually, they
forgot
actually
about that.
sang
Yeah.
the song.
Yeah.
And I always thought that was kind of humorous. And
Mark
Mark
Quinn
Quinn
was
was a
good.
good promo guy.
I had I wrestled him one time in a 3-way with Baby Sunshine,
Okay.
and 3-ways are generally clusters and like whack. But I remember that being one of the better matches I had at that time of like not knowing how to wrestle.
Again, so much potential, but these guys
yeah.
didn't want to start from scratch, you know,
Right.
and just got discouraged and just left, you know, and it's
Yeah.
sad.
So you stuck around. You had
I stuck around. I was like
a lot of guys took off. Like you
I think
mentioned,
I was
all
the
those
only original.
guys. All
Yeah.
By the way, the original guys who are left now from that time, it's like you, us, Does Will even wrestle anymore? I mean,
He's in Florida now. So.
yeah, so I don't think he works anymore. And I mean, I don't consider LeMay or anything.
No.
And Strider, I guess. Yeah, you know what I mean? Strider.
I consider Brendan LeMay.
Brian Sire.
A mark.
Brian Sire.
A mark. Yeah.
Who is that, Brendan? No, I consider him a valet.
I like that. Brian Sire's a valet.
Yeah.
He's the franchise valet of ACW. All right, so we're gonna. I love making fun of him. It's so funny because like these are all the things that we say to him in person too. Like I don't know.
I know you're out there, Brian Sy. I know you're listening. That's who I was talking about when I started this podcast.
Yeah, that's who you knew.
Yeah.
I knew it was him. So you stick around. You're the only guy left from that time.
Mm-hmm.
It's all new guys coming and training under Brickhouse's wing. A lot of guys that used to be in Yankee.
Most of the guys.
Most of the guys from Yankee. And
I think I was the only one that wasn't.
geez, so
Yeah.
so Brickhouse takes you under his wing.
Mm-hmm. I'm training every week.
Every week you're showing up. You
Then
learn.
eventually, Sweet Scott Ashworth comes in.
Now Ash takes over training. Is
No, he just came in to watch a show,
yeah.
and I heard from like Candido that he mentioned that I was really good and I had potential.
Right.
And he wanted to work with me.
Yeah. So Ash had said that to Jamie
Mm-hmm.
before he was working there, like while he was just watching shows.
Mhm.
So is that why he's like, I want to work with that Levesque kid?
Yep.
I'm coming in. Listen up, Candido.
And I think Ashworth had the hookup for the VFW. So that's how we transitioned from the soccer center in New Bedford, formerly Hot Wheels, to the VFW in Fairhaven.
So you start working Sweet Scott Ashworth. Was that his debut match?
Before we get into the Ashworth stuff, do you have anything of like memorable significance from the New Bedford Soccer Center? Like,
No, I was like in opening matches, wearing my generic singlet.
yeah,
Before I had the vests, I think I had like a towel.
that
like
you would
Mr.
wear around your
Perfect.
neck, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
Short hair, buzz cut.
Now you're in a singlet at this time.
Yeah. Totally like a transition.
Just before that, you were rocking what the
Maybe bikers and
bikers,
like Under Armour or something.
bikers and Under Armour top, right?
Yeah.
So now you're in a singlet.
So I'm like in wrestling mode. Now,
Yeah, you're ready to go.
Trying to figure out who Sensational Scott Levesque was.
You're working it out. How long was it before you went from literally like fully covered from toe to shoulder in your Venom wrestling gear with the Spider-Man and the tassels to now like trunk Scott Levesque, where I almost know what you look like completely naked? Like, how long did that take?
It took a while, man, because I was very self-conscious about like how I looked without a shirt.
Yeah,
Because I grew up as like a
chubby
fat kid.
Yeah.
straight up fat kid, man. Geek with glasses, overweight, so I was really insecure.
All this is still true, though. I'm looking at you right now. You're geeking with glasses and you're overweight.
Well, in my mind, at least.
Yeah, that's crazy talk. I think of all my friends, you are definitely in the best shape.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Well, I mean, considering my friends are like Trevor with 110
Including
pounds.
Paul Lombardi, by the way?
I haven't seen Lombardi in a while, so I don't know. He might. You guys might be
He's
going.
jacked.
He is jacked. I mean, that dude was. He's looking good.
I don't know.
All
dude.
natural, by the way.
Speaking of all natural, what about you, Mr. Scott Levesque? I'm putting
Totally
you to
all
the test right now. Are you
Totally
all natural?
dude.
There
That is
you
the
go.
one thing I could take to my grave. I have never taken steroids in my life.
Not even a cycle?
I've been offered, man. I have been offered
Yeah, that's
by
how,
multiple
I was
people.
just gonna say. But how do you feel about like steroids in wrestling? You think it's
Man.
cheating?
I do.
Really?
I really do.
See, me, I'm just like, screw it. Give me some tests. Let's get this shit crazy.
Why aren't you on the
Not
cycle
me.
then?
Well, I don't want to do steroids,
Oh,
man.
yeah, okay.
I don't want to do steroids because if I did steroids, I would just get all poofy.
Like a jacked T1, you know what I'm saying? That would be awesome.
No, I think I would just get all poofy and stuff. I don't know. But you can understand why you would be upset and you might think it's cheating because...
Not upset, you know.
Well, I understand, but I can see why you would think it was cheating considering you've done it all natural. And guys, I don't know. I don't know anything about steroids, so...
So you're saying you've been offered before?
Yeah.
I'm not
I'm
gonna
not
ask
going
for
to
any
name
names or anything like that.
but
No,
I've been offered by...
multiple,
More than one.
Multiple
Yeah.
people, yeah. Oscar.
What's the connection? Can I get some phone numbers?
Sure. Yeah.
After the podcast,
podcast,
yeah, we'll get some numbers going. But so Ash comes in. He wants to work with you. How long do you work with Ash for a while?
Oh, yeah. Maybe like a year straight.
A year straight.
A whole year
Like,
straight. Like a
every
whole feud.
show you're
Yeah.
working Ash.
Yep.
or something to do. You guys are doing something involving
Maybe
each
like a
other.
tag match or
Yeah.
like a singles match, you know.
Now, if you at that point you feel like that's where you learned the most,
With Eddie.
right?
And I did learn, you know.
Yeah.
I learned not to do too much and use psychology, you know. And every little thing meant something, you know. Get mileage out of every little thing, you
Right.
know? So yeah, I did learn.
So you guys Ash basically taught you like, look, you know how to do the moves, you know how to run the ropes. Now I'm going to teach you how to have a match.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And Mac.
I was gonna ask you how your overall experience with Sweet Scott Ashworth was, but you pretty much just answered that. I've never got the chance to wrestle with him. I've trained with him, ran a few spots and stuff like that.
We did that match with a Mac. We had a match with like
A tag match. Yeah.
like 4 teams or something.
Yeah,
right?
multiple tag matches.
It was like it was Ash and Davey Cash, us,
Oh, yeah, we
the
did
Convicts.
Scott Ashworth dance.
Yeah, me and you, we Ashworth danced.
I don't think
How
I
can you
officially-
forget that, Mac? Come on.
I don't think I officially.
I've never done the dance, by the way. Well, I've never been a babyface, so you know.
Oh, you've been a babyface.
Shut up.
I seen it. I seen that.
You see this shirt, man?
Never, does this say never turn face?
Never turn face.
He's wearing a barbershop window shirt. By the way, where'd you hear from about barbershop window? Where'd you get that from? Oh, I wonder.
I don't know.
I don't know either.
I don't know.
You son of a gun. So you're working with Ash every show. You're getting down with the get down. How are these matches? Like, what's the feedback Ash has given you, other than slow down, kid?
Loosen up.
Yeah,
I heard that a
were you
lot.
just beating the shit out of him?
Dude, I'm a crowbar sometimes. You know what
Yeah,
I'm saying?
sometimes. Yeah, right.
Yeah, still
Broke
to
my
this day.
goddamn nose.
Yeah. Shut up.
Was it the rib kicks?
No, I didn't have those rib kicks.
When did the rib kicks start? We'll get to that
Dan
later.
Freitas taught me those rib kicks.
Oh, really?
I
Damn,
still
that
use
Dan
them.
I know
Yeah.
you use them. Every time I wrestle you.
When he taught you, did he say kick them as hard as you can?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Directly
Yeah.
in the ribs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's all muscle right there.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
like
sure.
ribs there.
Not on
Yeah.
him. Not on Mac. It's not all muscle. That's straight bone.
Yeah.
Um,
I love those rib kicks. by the way.
Yeah, I do too. Not when you're kicking me, though. So you're working with Ash. You're obviously, like, loving it, right?
I'm loving it. I'm a mark for everything, dude. At that time, you got to remember that as a fan, before I broke in, like, I used to pay to see these dudes.
Right. No, I know
Redemption,
exactly what you're saying,
Brickhouse,
dude.
Ashworth,
PAL.
Davey
and
Cash,
New Bedford.
PAL,
New Bedford,
Sunshine Plaza in
oh,
New
yeah.
Bedford, you know, where Yankee used to run shows. I used to
Omri, the
pay
Main
as a
Street
fan to
Omri.
see these dudes. Now I'm getting trained by them, trained by
you'll-
Brickhouse every week. Now I'm in a program with Sweet Scott, you know?
These are, I mean, basically at that time when
I was loving it.
when we were kids, I'll say, when we were younger, it was the guys on TV,
Mhm.
and then the wrestlers in the area was
Yeah.
all these guys, Brickhouse,
Yeah.
Scott Ashworth, I mean, Redemption,
Yeah.
all these guys. There's a new Facebook thing going, like New England, not Hall of Fame, but like classic New England wrestling or something like that. And it's all these old ass photos from like
Yeah.
back in the day, and you look at it, it's like, holy crap, man. Brickhouse is like our age. Like, holy crap, this is crazy to look
yeah.
at.
Yeah.
no, at that time, do you feel like a lot of the guys were getting weeded out? A lot of the, I want to call them backyard wrestlers, but a lot of the guys with not as much training experience.
They're all gone. Like the Havocs.
They were all
like,
gone.
Yeah, I already said like the
Do you
Havocs.
feel
Mack
like you
Echo.
were like officially becoming an independent professional wrestler
at that point,
time?
I really thought I was. Yeah.
What about Strider? Did he disappear? I feel like he stuck around, didn't he?
No, he did not.
Oh,
Like,
man.
all those guys are gone. All those guys were gone.
See, I
And
always
was the
thought
only
Strider like stuck it out and was always
No.
just kind of
one. No, that's not true.
Java Strider sticking around. No, wow. See, I didn't know. We weren't around at the time.
I think
We
he
were-
came back like 09, 2010.
Oh, so it was already kind of late into
Yeah.
the game.
Yeah.
So you're starting to feel like a real indie wrestler.
Mm-hmm.
You're stepping away from the ACW has had like a weird stigma to it because you had guys that had like zero training at all doing shows and stuff.
Yeah. Then I think at this time, like it was kind of like a renaissance for ACW
Right.
with like the Bakers.
Look, we
the
actually
Ashworths,
have people who know how to
Redemptions.
work. And,
Yeah.
like
all
these
the
shows
old
are going to be
Yankee guys
legitimate
came
now.
in. Yeah.
And these guys all had a lot of like pull. Like people knew the name
Yeah.
Brickhouse Baker
Yeah. Exactly.
for New England wrestling.
Exactly.
They knew Scott Ashworth. They knew Redemption. They knew Tex McCoy.
Yeah.
They knew all these
I
guys.
think the only stigma of the whole thing was like the ACW name. And while I was still like a booker, sharing the booking duties with Sean Candido, like I pitched the idea, hey,
Of changing the name?
we're going to move from Somerset to the multiplex to the soccer center. How about changing the name? So we
Right.
don't have that stigma anymore. And they're like, oh, no, we'll just keep the name. And I think like that name had a stigma to it.
And it really did. It did
really
at the time. I
you
mean,
know?
like
We had a
people would
totally
go to
different
shows-
roster. I was the only guy that was still there, and we had all these Yankee guys, but we still had that stupid name. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, I remember specifically like old VFW shows where guys like I don't want to drop names or whatever, but like other trainers would be in the crowd and they would watch a show and we would talk to them afterwards or other workers and they're like, well, you guys have potential and fill in the blank. Scott Levesque has potential and fill in the blank has potential, but you guys are gonna get hurt working here with some of these guys. Like, I mean, at some points, man, they were just people with zero. Like, I don't want to like throw like Rob Roberts and Extreme Satan on blast, but you would never catch me wrestling Extreme. You know what I mean? Like out of fear for my own safety. Like a lot of I'm kind of glad that the Yankee invasion happened and weeded those dudes out because
Yeah.
everybody
Yeah.
who's still wrestling it around at this point, like now we don't have to really deal with too much of that.
I just wish like guys like Brian Sire and Mack Echo just stuck around, just like I did exactly what I did. Just hit the reset button. Just got trained and got reprogrammed.
And earn their spot.
Earned this spot just like I did, and look what I eventually did. You know what I'm saying? And I see Mack Echo, and I saw potential in him, and I saw why Sean Candido saw potential in him, and Chris Cruz, and Brian Sire, and maybe even Havoc. You know what I'm saying?
Now, what did Candido think of us back then?
I don't know. You guys left before, like
Before he really got
Yeah.
like a.
You guys-
I'm just
yeah.
curious because he books us all the time now.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm just curious of what he thought at that point. I remember like the night I wrestled Chris Pyro, Massa Mack wrestled Ray Ranson, and you like drop kicked his pants off. Remember that?
Yeah, I do remember that.
Like we were all joking around about like who was gonna have like the worst match of the night. We kept saying we were gonna have the worst match, and he blah blah blah.
By the way, I totally repackaged Ray Ranson into a trucker gimmick. Remember that?
Yes,
what
he
was
had
that guy's name? Trevor Murdoch on Raw.
Yeah,
at
yeah.
the time, like I was like Ray Ranson. At the time he had like a rubber chicken, like baggy, like Zubaz.
Yeah, he used to rock the,
I
like the
was
pajama
like,
pants.
just
and
give
the
him a
Zupas all the
gimmick,
time.
and maybe he'll get over. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. You turned him into like a
Crazy
cowboy.
anyway.
He was wearing like a. By
Yeah,
the end there, right? He was wearing like a flannel
sleeveless
vest.
flannel, which was mine, by the way.
Yeah,
A
like
trucker
cowboy
cap.
not cowboy boots, like work boots.
Yeah, yeah.
And like a trucker hat and stuff. Yeah, I slight bit of memory there. I remember having like a 4-way with him, Havoc, and DJ Crimson, and it was just awful.
Yeah, yeah.
Just
it was off.
It was awful. I have it on tape. Do you have it somewhere? I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's just. It's
I think he
just
took
bad.
a power slam during that match, and he got pinned or something. Then
And-
like
yeah, just
he
got up and walked
bounces
away.
no sells it.
Yeah, we make that joke all the time to this day.
Yeah, the good old no sell.
You're working with Ash, all that stuff. Who's booking? Candido, right? And Dave is still promoter.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what's like the payday situation like at that time?
At that time, I didn't get paid.
Nothing. Just
No.
now, like Dave, was he paying certain guys and not paying
I'm
other
sure
guys?
He was.
Yeah,
I'm sure
just
he was
there was
paying Ash from Brickhouse.
some. Yeah, well, I mean that kind of goes
Yeah.
without saying, but I mean like guys like.
But then again, I
Michael
wasn't asking
Thorne.
for a payday. I was just
Yeah,
happy to
you
be
were
there.
just glad to be working.
Yeah.
Well, when was your first payday?
My first payday was probably that same year in 07. Ash actually hooked me up with a guy called Rocky Raymond.
Okay, yeah,
And
Rocky
he ran
Raymond.
annual shows at the Marshfield Fair. He used to bring in stars.
Yeah.
And that year,
Now that I'm assuming was the first show you did with a star.
yep, he brought in Antonio Thomas.
The
And
Promise.
The Promise, Antonio Thomas, and Brutus the Barber Beefcake.
I met that dude before. I met Promise Antonio Thomas in Maine, and I shook his hand, and I don't know, man. I felt like a disconnect. Like I looked in his eyes.
Very intense stare,
Yeah,
right?
he had like a really.
Every time he
intense
shook my
stare.
hand, he had like that intense stare, man. Like very
hey,
intense.
And then when he said whatever his name is, hey, and he's like staring directly in my eyes, and I'm just like, hey, dude, what's up, man? Like I didn't know how to. Like, what's up, bro? How are you?
Pro wrestling etiquette, you know? what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
absolutely. Terrifying people by staring them directly in the eyes. Pro wrestling etiquette. So, you do the Rocky Raymond show. Who do you work?
I work at Battle Royal,
Yeah.
and I think I was supposed to wrestle a match, but it got really rainy. So
Right.
I think they cut out all the undercard matches and just had the main event. Which
So, how many matches? They had a Battle Royal,
Battle Royal and probably
And-
just the main event.
and then the main event, and that's it.
Yeah, and I got paid like a big $40. But And I think Brutus Beefcake wrestled in the main event against some dude.
Some random dude.
I think his name was Kevin Kelly. I'm not sure what his wrestling name was, but his name was Kevin Kelly.
Kevin?
Like the WWF announcer guy?
Yeah.
But
Same
not
name.
the WWF
I'm not sure what his
announcer guy.
work name was. Maybe, I'm not sure.
I believe there was a guy who wrestled as Kevin Kelly around here.
Yeah.
That wasn't
him.
Kevin. That's him?
Yeah, some big jacked up dude with long hair, and he wrestled Brutus Beefcake. And Rocky Raymond pulls me aside and says, "Hey, you're in good shape. Why don't you put on a hood?
You're in good shape.
Why don't you put on a hood and do a run-in during this Brutus Beefcake match?" And I was
Yeah.
stoked, man. I was terrified. You know what I'm saying? I was like, "Oh,
Is
awesome!"
this you wanted to hit? You gonna hit him with a helmet?
He wanted to hit me with a. He wanted me to hit Brutus Beefcake
Right.
with a Raiders helmet. I guess
Right.
that was the big gimmick.
Was it Patriots versus Raiders? Is that the deal?
I don't know. I'm not
Now,
sure.
was this unannounced to Brutus the Beefcake? Like,
No, he eventually mentioned it to Brutus.
eventually.
And he brought me in. He's like, "Hey, this is the guy that's running during your match, and he's going to hit you with the Raiders helmet from the top rope."
Oh.
And remember, like I said earlier, like it was raining,
Yeah.
so they canceled all the undercard matches. And they just had a battle royal, then just the main event. So it was raining, and the ropes were slippery.
Sounds
So
like
the
there's
worry
a-
was that once I got on the top rope, I was going to slip and
Yeah.
hurt Brutus Beefcake. So Brutus Beefcake, after like Rocky Raymond, like emphasizes, "Don't fuck up, don't fuck up, don't hurt
Oh,
Brutus."
that's two. That's two.
So
I think. Yeah.
so Brutus looks at me, looks me up and down, and sees like that look in my eyes, sheer terror.
You got a
know?
little. You got a little bit of fear in those eyes.
Yeah.
And Beefcake senses it.
And then he like senses that shit, and he says, "We could do without that."
Yeah. So that's your first payday. That experience, and you $40. That's not bad, son.
Not bad for a battle royal, yeah.
This is also your first time wrestling in front of that many fans. You said it was a fair show. I know you said it was raining. But
yeah. There's a lot of people there.
I always kind of like fair shows are fair shows. You know what I mean? Nobody's there to see wrestling. They're just there,
Hmm.
and wrestling's going on.
Mm-hmm.
So you get your first payday. You're picking up some speed. You did this whole deal with Ash.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you go from there?
He basically groomed me, and I was married to Ash for a while, and he was grooming me for like getting ready for Brickhouse Baker.
So basically, the Ash feud was to prepare you for the Brickhouse run,
Mm-hmm.
and that was for the ACW championship. Brickhouse
Yep.
was the champion, right?
Yep.
And how did this happen? You, just basically you going over as a heel, I assume,
Mhm.
when the Scott Levesque, the heel, you were
Yep.
still heel at the time. With Ash, he got you ready for the Brickhouse match.
Yep.
Just by beating Ash. Did you beat Ash at the end
I'm
of the
not sure
feud?
if I
or-
ever like beat Ash. I might have.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. But we're like paired up together for like
Basically,
for the better part of a year.
in the eyes of the fans, it made you look like you could hang with those guys.
Exactly. And I think officially I beat Redemption in a number one contenders match.
Right.
By count out or something. Because
Whatever
I
it may be.
I
Yeah,
beat
you can't.
Redemption, you know?
Yeah.
But I beat him like some, fuck finish.
Yeah. That's
by count
that's
out.
one +1. You lost one of the next podcast you do. You lost the F-bomb.
I beat Redemption, become number one contender.
So you find out you're going to work with Brickhouse for the ACW heavyweight title. How do you feel? Like, what is your thoughts at that point?
Again, I'm just a mark for all this shit. Man.
Right.
You know?
You're just completely down for whatever they tell you.
I'm elated, yeah.
Now, you find out you're going to win the belt, right? Or does that come like the day of the show?
I'm not sure. I think they told
Are
me.
we're already in the VFW, right, at this point?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. For at least a year already. So.
Okay, so we're in the VFW.
For a whole year at the VFW,
You're just working
I'm
with
working with
Ash.
Ash. I eventually win number one contendership with Redemption.
Right, yep.
I defeat Redemption. And we start building for the main event of Summer Showdown in August.
Right.
Brickhouse Baker versus Scott Levesque.
Now, it's like a gimmick match or just one-on-one like normal?
It's one-on-one. This is how much of a mark I was. I had a wedding to go to.
Right.
My girl's sister was getting married.
Right.
And it was a day of a show.
The day of the show, you're supposed to wrestle Baker?
I wasn't supposed to wrestle, but I wanted to do something,
Right.
to give, to build the angle.
Right.
So
You didn't
I
want to just
left
miss the show.
Yeah, I left I left the reception early
Yeah.
to do a run-in on Baker's match.
For the main event.
In a tie, a suit.
Well, I mean, that
you know?
still kind of goes with the Scott Levesque
But that was
deal.
I was just so happy to be there, man. You know?
Yeah, you were just ecstatic. So you find out the main event, Summer Showdown. This is your first, you feel, legitimate title shot on the.
Yeah. I mean, before this, I was already ACW champion, but
right,
you know, it wasn't the same.
Right,
you know?
yeah. Who did you beat? Scotty Jive for that belt, and beating Scotty Jive for a belt and beating Brickhouse Baker for a belt.
Yeah.
Of two very different things.
Very different things. Yeah.
Now you find out you're gonna go for the belt. Isn't there some sort of? This is just off my memory. You win the belt, and then Ash comes out and beats you.
There's a backstory to that. Supposedly, before all this happens, I'm being groomed by Scott Ashworth in a program with Scott Ashworth for over a year. By this time, Paul Lombardi comes in,
Good old Paul Lombardi.
sees my passion, sees that I have potential, just like everybody else, and I don't know, he inquires whether or not I want to go to Top Rope. And I say, of course I do, you know, but I don't think they'll take me. And he opens that door for me.
At the time, he was working for Top Rope full time.
I believe he was, or on his way out because he was moving to Florida,
Yeah.
you know. And he opened that door for me.
Was he doing the Lombardi thing or the
I think at that time he was doing the Arabian thing.
yeah, the Arabian deal?
Yeah.
So he got you the in. Now, was that like come down and train on a Tuesday or
Not initially. No, I didn't train first. He just got me a shot in Sturbridge, like at a campground.
Yeah.
And I rode with him, and they just got me on a show.
Now, who did you work at that show?
Kahuna.
So you worked Kahuna at squash match?
Totally squash.
Yeah, just marriage.
Yeah. I remember reading the results after that match, and even some of the results, Kahuna squashed Scott Levesque.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah, that was a little dig. You know
Yeah,
what I'm saying?
yeah.
Because of the heat between Top Rope and ACW at the time, I guess.
Yeah. So you think
Here's
it was
ACW top guy getting squashed. Like
by just the top guy around there can come here and
yeah.
just lose in
Yeah.
10 seconds. You feel
Then-
like they did that
then-
on purpose or
Oh yeah.
You think
Proof
so?
Point, yeah.
yeah?
Then like the
Was that do you think that was trying to get you to say, screw ACW, I'm going to come here?
Oh,
That was
definitely.
like almost like a chess
Yeah.
move
They were definitely interested in me, I think.
at that. Yeah,
The
definitely.
following week we had a show in Connecticut
Yeah,
for Top Rope, and again I rode with Lombardi, and I wrestled Freight Train.
yeah.
I actually had more offense this time, and it was a good match. And again,
Freight Train Dan, is that what you're talking about?
yeah.
I think it's his name now because the $5 wrestling guy is Freight Train. Everybody knows him as Freight Train.
Yeah, but at the time he was just Freight Train.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know.
I'm just clearing it up so people don't think you wrestled the $5
Oh
wrestling
yeah,
guy.
no.
So you
Dan Willett,
yeah.
Freight Train.
Well,
Good
hey,
guy.
you don't have to drop his full name. Just, I think he just goes by Freight Train Dan now.
I took the big splash off the top. The
Holy
big
crap,
stiff
really?
splash. Yeah,
How's that?
stiff man.
Yeah,
but,
you got-
I took it
Messed up, painful?
willingly.
Yeah.
It was a good match.
Now,
I enjoyed it.
How did you feel backstage at the TRP shows compared to like backstage at ACW? Big difference?
I wouldn't say big difference at the time.
You just
At the
didn't
time,
know anybody?
I was happy to be with ACW because all those dudes were like, guys that I grew up watching.
Right, yeah. They still had some like a name value to
Yeah,
you.
yeah. To me at the time, and at Top Rope, I was with my boy Paul Lombardi.
Now, is that who you
Yeah,
obviously
I was
you said
riding
you were
with
riding
him.
the shows
He was
with
my
him,
riding partner,
and you guys
yeah.
were hanging out in the locker room and
And
all
he
that
was
stuff.
helping me out, giving me critiques after my matches, and getting me booked, and opening the door for me. And
Now, basically, at this time, you were just doing like the Top Rope away shows,
yeah,
like nothing.
my first 2 shows.
Yeah, were for the away,
hmm
and it was
Just to, I guess, take a look at me.
yeah. So
Yeah.
they don't have to do anything like because around Top Rope mainly around the Fall River, New Bedford area.
Mm-hmm.
That's where they do a majority of their
Yeah.
business. So like when they were doing the campground shows and stuff. The whole
But I was getting-
you working for a Top Rope thing is what led basically into you not being the ACW champion.
Yeah, because they heard about it. They read the results, obviously.
They found out that
They found out,
yeah.
and they can't have like their the guy that they're pushing to
Right.
become the ACW
Right.
champion, to beat Brickhouse Baker, have them jobbing to Big Daddy Kahuna
Right.
and Freight Train.
I mean,
Like it matters, but you know, at the time, I understand.
Did somebody come up to you and say that to you, or
No, I was led to
it's
believe
kind of
that
all implied? Like
I was led to believe that I was going to win the title.
Yeah.
Then that day came, and I was going to wrestle Brickhouse, win the title, and they let me know that Scott Ashworth was going to cash in a Money in the Bank
kind of
type
deal.
of stipulation.
The Gold Rush Rumble, right? Isn't that the deal? He won the Gold Rush Rumble, something like that.
Sure.
Yeah.
You know, at the time, like, he had some sort of stipulation. Ashworth came out, challenged me for the belt, and I lost 30 seconds after I won it, you know?
Right. I mean,
And it stemmed all from, like, that flirting with Top Rope, you know?
Right, yeah. Now,
Teach me a lesson, I guess.
on their part, like the Ace. So you had Top Rope jobbing you out to teach you a lesson, like, hey, come work with us.
Well, I'm a new guy coming in. So,
right, yeah.
You know.
And in ACW, they were jobbing you out, like, oh, we're going to give you the belt, but kind of switch. How are you feeling at the time? Like, you're just working another promotion. You're just working a date. There was no, there was no ACW
wrong.
date.
Yeah.
It's not like you missed an ACW date to do it. You just worked another promotion.
I just think
how are you feeling?
As an independent wrestler, I think I could work anywhere I want. And there should be no ramifications from that.
From other promotions.
So I think I was in the right by working elsewhere. But there was like some sort of big beef there, and they took it out on me because I was flirting with like going to Top Rope. And I was putting over there like mid-card guys, I guess. And they were grooming me to become the ACW champion.
It's unfortunate when like politics come into play like that, but you do have to say that actually getting the offer to come down to Top Rope is pretty good because ACW was like you were saying, they weeded out the guys, so they were trying to like fix their problems and become a better promotion. And I would say that Top Rope was definitely one of the upper promotions from, so it was like stepping up a little bit.
Yeah.
So that must have felt good to get that offer in the first
Oh,
place.
definitely.
It's unfortunate that drama had to come into play and opportunities were missed.
I had to deal with that a lot.
So where did this lead after that? After not winning the belt for, well, at least you won, right?
Yeah, I won for 30 seconds.
Yeah,
you know.
that's not bad.
Yeah.
You beat Baker. That's not bad.
I beat Baker with the help of Rob Hagen.
And now, is that what caused you and Hagen? That was the beginning of you guys tagging?
That was the beginning of us tagging, yeah.
And you guys became the
Sensational
Blockbusters, right?
Yeah.
And that's when you started wearing trunks?
Yeah.
That's like now, what changed at that time? You were just more confident in your appearance and your ability?
I was hitting the gym pretty hard at that point.
Yeah. No gas.
No gas.
Just a lot of creatine.
Let me emphasize that. No gas.
A lot of creatine powder.
Well, no, not even creatine. I was just consuming an obscene amount of protein. Like 500 grams a day, which is obscene.
That's kind of ridiculous,
Lifting heavy.
Yeah.
And I was just so bloated, like bloated with muscle,
Yeah. You just
at the time, I was wearing a singlet.
Like Power Company size. Like, just
well, not quite Power Company, but...
not the same size, but that kind of same...
But I was getting, too big for a singlet,
size.
so I was like, I'm going to try out trunks,
Yeah.
I started becoming secure for the first time in my life, and I was wearing those little skivvies,
Yeah. You still rock them to this day, too.
Yes, I do.
It's a good look. I mean, if I looked like you, I'd be wearing just the, hey, ladies.
Thank you.
I believe you gave Trevor a pair.
Yes, I did.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Trevor's got a pair of your first black trunks or something
Yeah.
I've,
weird.
I've seen Trevor in him multiple times.
Those are my Midnight Prowler trunks, by the way.
Midnight Prowler.
Yeah.
We'll get to that.
We'll get to that
we'll
later
get to the
on,
Midnight
yeah.
Prowling. Don't you worry. So how, you start tagging with Rob Hagen. You feel like there's a click right away? Like you guys got each other?
We're just two guys paired up initially.
Just slapped together?
Slapped together, two younger guys trying to get the main spots from the older vets. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So you
two disgruntled dudes.
You're the new blood trying to take from the millionaires. Club. Is that how you're telling me?
Exactly.
So how you started working with Hagen?
Mm-hmm.
You guys, do you get a push for the tag belts like right away? Because you had just had that title rub.
I got the title rub. I lost to Scott Ashworth.
Yeah.
And his partner was the former champion that I beat, Brickhouse Baker.
Right.
And naturally, it was Baker and Ash versus me and Rob.
Now, is this for the first ever ACW tag team champions? Were they already the champions, or?
I'm not sure. I think it was just like like a grudge
Oh,
sort
so it
of
wasn't
tag
even for the
match.
belts. It was just you guys were pissed
I think along the way they won tag team straps and
as they were feuding with you.
yeah, exactly.
A secondhand storyline to them.
Mhm.
They won the tag belts from
I think Ash was
Club
actually,
Justice. Was it Club Justice that they beat?
I don't.
I have
don't
no.
think
I'm
they
just
were
making.
around,
I'm just making stuff up.
But eventually they picked up the tag straps while Ash was like the heavyweight champion. So he was a dual title holder, and they're feuding with me and Rob, and eventually we beat him.
So you're the. This is something that I've always found very interesting. You were the ACW Tag Team Champion, or one half of the ACW Tag Team Champions. At the same time, one half of the TRP Tag Team
came later.
Champions.
That came-
was that like a second
ca-
title run?
That came much later, yeah. That was
So-
the second or third title run, yeah.
As the okay. I thought that was like the.
No, you win the tag belts and you strictly do tag team matches.
Yeah. yeah.
What were your feelings on like the difference between tag matches and doing singles matches? Because I know that you really like to get in there and you like full wrestling contact, and you have to kind of sit on the sidelines and let your tag team partner do some work. How do you feel about that and the transition?
At first, it was a hard transition because I didn't really know anything about tag team wrestling.
Right.
And I relied on Rob Hagen. And he taught me so much. And
As a tag team wrestler.
As a tag team wrestler. Because before that, he tagged with Johnny Nash, Hollywood Johnny Nash.
Hollywood Johnny Nash.
So
That name I haven't heard in forever.
Yeah, he had like that tag experience, you know.
So he.
I think initially they should have. I mean, they should have been the original Hollywood Blockbusters because he was Blockbuster Rob Hagen
and he was
Hollywood Johnny Nash, right?
and they didn't.
I totally stole that.
That's hilarious. Yeah.
Later
Is that
on.
where you got the idea from?
Yeah.
For the Hollywood Blockbusters.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So you guys are.
Because initially we were the sensational Blockbusters, you know.
See, I didn't know that. Now, at what point did you guys start getting like taking the tag team stuff serious? Where you were getting matching gear and.
After we won the tag team straps,
That's when you started like, all right,
started, like,
we're gonna go with.
focusing on it.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
go with this tag team thing. Like,
yeah,
I'm gonna get this tag team deal.
totally
over.
invested. Yeah, but at the same time, I was still working with Top Rope. At the time,
As Scott Levesque,
as Scott Levesque,
and
I did those initial two
Yeah,
away
yeah.
shows that I mentioned earlier, and then they brought me in to go to training with Spike.
and that's when at that point Spike is running the lockup.
Mhm. That's the first time I met Spike, and Lombardi brought me in there. And the initial training, I think it was just me,
Right.
Lombardi, Spike, and some dude, Isis Effects. That was-
ISIS Effects.
Yeah.
Like Emo Kid.
Emo Kid from New York, yeah.
Okay, I think I know.
That was
Yeah.
my initial first training, and it was just cool. It was just me and three other dudes with Spike, you know?
Right. I had a bunch of those. With,
Then
like,
I would
just
go
me,
every week.
Me, Trevor, and Spike, and like Matt Taven randomly and stuff like that.
Yeah. And I would go every week, and sometimes it would just be me and Spike. And other weeks it would be me, Spike, and Paul Lombardi.
Right. And
And
that's,
other weeks, get this, it was me, Spike, and Jailbreak only, you know?
Jailbreak, huh?
Poor
Now,
Jailbreak.
what were
because he
those? What were those trainings
oh,
like?
my God. No, Spike would shit all over Jailbreak.
Oh, man. So you're at this time you're
But
you're
that was
tag-
pretty cool. Like, sometimes I would show up, it would just be me and Spike, you know? It's like a seminar just with Spike.
Yeah,
you know?
and for a guy who grew up in this area, you obviously knew of ECW. I don't know if you
Totally marking out, by the
Yeah,
way.
at that-
you know, just grappling with Spike, you know, having him...
The fact that you're locking up with this guy and you're like, I've seen this dude on Raw and
Yeah.
WrestleMania and
Yeah.
like shit like that. Initially that's gotta be a pretty cool feeling, and then eventually you get used to it because you see him every week or whatever.
Mhm.
But how long were you training at Top Rope for?
From August 2008 to February 2009.
So like 6 months, basically.
Yeah.
Now, when did you bring us? You started bringing us to Top Rope with you. At what point was that?
I think that was during my Midnight Prowler run.
So that was already like a year after that.
Year
so
after that, yeah.
you had already been training with Spike
Mhm.
by the time you brought us in. So,
Yeah.
all right. So you're training at TRP. You're wrestling with Hagen. You're absorbing as much information as you
Mhm.
can. When do you start like branching out to other promotions other than like say TRP or ACW? Like I know you had a pretty successful run with PWF.
Yeah, that comes much later on.
Really, it's much later.
Yeah.
So what are you doing at this time with Hagen? You guys are just
Absorbing all the knowledge from tag team wrestling from Hagen,
yeah.
doing the tag team thing. I'm working like spot shows and PAL shows at Top Rope,
So you did do some PAL shows.
Yeah.
Who did you work on the PAL?
This is the one that got me the most heat. Initially, I put over Kahuna, then Freight Train at away shows. Then my first PAL show was, this is after I'm training with Spike.
Yeah.
During the training with Spike, I get, a pretty high-profile match against Johnny Angel, who was at the time the
Heavyweight
TRP champion.
Yeah.
And here I am, Scott Levesque and Push ACW, putting over the TRP champion.
Well, I mean, he's the heavyweight champion for a reason, right? Isn't that
Yeah,
like,
exactly. I didn't see the big deal,
that's
but
so whack.
again, I got even more heat.
Now, who's giving you this heat? Like, where are you getting this from? Like,
from Sean Candido.
Candido, like the bookers. I'm not. Yeah, like just
At the time,
is Ash coming to you, or Brick House, or
I'm sure behind my back,
yeah,
and I understand. I really understand.
people just complain. You just had people
But the
complaining
heat was
in
so
general.
big at that time,
Yeah, between the two,
he'll deny it to this day, but the heat at the time was so big,
right?
And
You were right
I
in the
just
middle
felt
of it.
the pressure. I was in the middle. I wanted to work for both promotions. I didn't see the big deal in it.
Right. Especially since, you were doing the Levesque thing where you're working, like you said, the heavyweight champion of the promotion. And to me, that's not that. I mean, you're the tag team champion here.
Funny story.
To lose.
That day that I wrestled and
Right.
lost to Johnny Angel,
Yeah.
that was a double shot. That night, I had to leave early and go to Fairhaven to wrestle Scott Ashworth, the ACW heavyweight champion.
That's pretty. Now, what? Well, you don't have to answer on the podcast. You can just give me like an I answer. Wasn't there some sort of weird payday, like
Yeah.
stay until the stay until the end of the show and you'll get paid? Don't if you leave you get nothing kind of deal.
Yeah. It made sense. I'm
Is
sure
that-
there's some sort of
You
incentive.
feel like that's just kind of like a
mind games.
skip that show. You don't have
Hey
to
man,
do it.
if you want to get paid, just skip that show,
Yeah.
and try to sabotage the other show,
See, like, I like that. You're not putting any definitions on who was saying that about who.
Well, I guess the place that I wrestled first that night,
Oh yes, you ruined it there. I was trying to be nice. So you worked Ash the same night. You worked both heavyweight champions on the same evening
Yeah.
of rival promotions. That's kind of like some Rick Rude shit.
Yeah.
Like where you're showing up in promos on Raw and
Yeah.
and on Nitro.
Yeah.
Like I'm not obviously those two promotions are not. Although one of them is now called WCW, which is pretty funny.
Yeah.
But obviously not the same caliber, but the same general idea. So you tag
I
them-
never got major heat for Top Rope for working for ACW. They were just like, why
other
would
than
you?
the payday stuff.
Other than the payday, like mind games.
Yeah.
But when I went back to Fairhaven, they would be like, hey, like kind of trying to push you here as like a new top guy.
Yeah.
A young top guy,
Yeah.
and you're working over there, putting over people.
Just jobbing out.
Yeah.
How they felt, I'm sure it was that you were jobbing
Totally
out.
understandable.
Yeah. I guess, but it's independent wrestling.
But from my point of view, it was just so stressful,
Right. You were just bouncing back and
Just
forth.
in the
and
middle.
Hearing it from everybody.
I just wanted to work.
Now, who are you in contact with on the top rope side? Because obviously,
Still Paul Lombardi.
just
He's-
Lombardi
yeah.
is just still getting you the hookup at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And you're doing the Hagen stuff. Now,
Yep.
what comes after the Hagen stuff? You guys tag for a while, right?
Yeah. We tagged for a while, and there was Top Rope was going to do their first show in a while in New Bedford
Uh-huh.
at Joe's venue somewhere in New Bedford, and
The auction hall.
the auction hall.
Yeah.
And there was major heat because Fairhaven's right next to New Bedford,
I see.
And-
Very close.
and again major heat. Whoever worked that New Bedford show was going to get heat. And
All you wanted to do was step in the ring and compete, and
Yeah.
Yeah,
and it
heat
was
from
only a
both
battle royal,
sides.
man. Oh, no, I didn't wrestle a battle royal. I wrestled a battle royal, and I wrestled the Aldens, and I teamed up with Guy Alexander, and again, I was the one taking the fall, and I just got heat again, and I came to a head,
Wait.
and currently I was the ACW Tag Team Champion.
that's what I was just about to ask.
And Sean Candido said, "Hey, man, you got to make a decision. You're the tag team champions. If you don't stop working for Top Rope, your next scheduled match here is Sean Candido and Eric Dillon versus the Sensational Blockbusters
for the belts.
for the belts. And if you don't stop working for Top Rope, we're going to take away the belts."
So they pretty much put you in that situation, and
Yeah.
What eventually ended up happening?
We worked the match. Me and Rob versus Eric and Sean Candido, and we put him over.
Yeah.
There was a big gimmick. We were wearing
Was there
dresses,
a dress
by the way.
thing?
Yeah,
Yeah, I feel like
yeah.
there was a dress thing.
Yeah.
See,
I wanted to go out in the bang,
For somebody that wasn't around at the time, I remember all of your nonsense for some reason.
Yeah.
Just from being friends and still being
I just figured on my way out, just totally embarrassed myself.
just making yourself look like an ass.
I think we lost a match to Scott Ashworth and Brickhouse, and if we lost, we would wear dresses, some sort of wager.
So, was it pretty much like I understand you'd lose the belts because they don't want their champion job in a different company, but did you feel like you could not work for WCW or
ACW?
ACW? I apologize. ACW. Do you feel like so you pretty much made your decision and you started working for Top Rope?
Incorrect. That was my decision going in. That was why that booking decision was made for me and Rob to drop the belts
I see.
to Eric and Sean Candido, because it was assumed that I was going to leave to go Top Rope, and solely Top Rope, because they made me choose. Top Rope never made me choose, It was only an issue
You feel
into
like,
Haven.
you feel very open talking about. Are you like so secure with your spot? At this point, you're just completely open with talking about.
definitely.
You feel like Jamie's not gonna, Candido's
No, I don't think
gonna
so.
not
It's the
book you.
truth. It's the truth.
Yeah, it's
So-
really what was going down at the time. I'm pretty secure with everywhere I am too, so I'm just
Yeah.
kind of like screw it, just talk about everything. So you make the decision. You're wearing the dresses. I've seen some of the Facebook photos of you in a dress.
You see Rob's pink dress?
Yeah, very nice. You were in the
Sweet.
blue one, right?
Yeah.
yeah. And
My mom's, by the way.
very nice. Both your moms, like the
No. I think Rob actually bought his.
Oh, he bought his own
Yeah.
dress. You borrowed one from your mom.
Yeah.
Being the cheapskate that you are, you don't want to
Yeah.
buy a dress like Hagen. You make the decision. All right, I'm not gonna stop working for Top Rope. How does that change?
That changes. Just I work the match. I go in there. The finish is that Eric and Sean are going to beat us in dresses. Show a little ass on my way out.
You got to show ass.
Yeah. And just the camaraderie afterwards, and just the emotion that I felt, it was like, fuck, I'm sorry. Sorry for cursing.
You only got one F-bomb left.
I was like, man, I'm going to miss this. I don't want to leave this. And, this is the place that groomed me and made me, and I'm staying. And that's when I made my decision to stay,
Was it at the bar afterwards that you made the decision?
No, I think it was right after, the match through the curtain.
Really, just straight away?
I hugged Sean Candido, and he said, so what's up? And I said, hey, I'm staying, So.
After you lost the belts to him?
Yeah, in dresses.
In
yeah.
dresses. Well, you already thought you were on your way out.
Yeah.
So at this point, you lost the belts. You guys won the belts back from Candido, and
Eventually.
I
think the next show.
the next show, the very next show. Now you
They were
go-
so happy with my decision. That,
right. Yeah, let's go. We're putting the belts back on them, kid.
Yeah.
Now, you guys get heavily into doing the Hollywood blockbuster stuff. You and Hagen, you guys are clicking as one hell of a team. I honestly wish at that point I could go back and me and him work you guys.
Yeah.
That would have been.
You guys should have been there.
We should have been there,
Yeah.
but we weren't, and shit happens. And
We were just totally into it, and I think that was when I had the brainchild of changing the awkward name of Sensational Blockbusters
to the Hollywood blockbusters. And you guys started coming up with the film clacker
Yep.
deal and stuff,
Mhm.
right? And I don't want to say rope, but it was the long deal with the sleeves cut off.
the matching coats.
I used to have one of those.
Yeah.
And I let Tommy Trainwreck borrow it a long time ago.
From Elucha.com.
and he stole that shit.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure he sold it. That's not no.
Hold it.
I'm pretty sure he either lost it.
Do that. You can lose it, but you can't sell it.
I'm pretty sure he either lost it or stole it. That son of a bitch. That's why the heat started with us in the Minutemen.
Oh, I see.
They stole my shit. I got pissed.
You look fantastic in it, by the way. I really enjoyed it. You never wore it to the ring, but you used to wear it around the house.
Yeah, well, just around the house. T-shirt underneath it. Long silvery jacket. That's where I got the idea from to get that jacket. I stole it from you. It's Levesque. So you guys heavily into the tag team stuff. What gets you into PWF? And Is this again still way later on?
Way later on. That's
Man,
after NECW because remember,
that's
PWF
NECW.
branches off from the NECW
That's right.
shutdown.
That's
yeah.
right. I forgot all about that. The NECW. You were on the Comcast TV. I could turn my Comcast on and watch my friend Scott Levesque on my on demand. That was pretty dope.
On Comcast, yeah.
See, like you're downplaying it. I was excited. All right. I got to see my friend on TV.
I always enjoyed it. You used to rub your hands together a lot.
Like Chris Benoit, yeah. Remember those Crippler Chris Benoit ECW promos?
As a matter of fact, I just randomly, we're going to get into a little Benoit. We're going a
not
little.
yet. Come on, later.
Training
please.
number one on the way over here because we had to come up to your place once again. To your beautiful log cabin in the woods.
Scott Levesque cannot be bothered to come to us at any point. We filmed the documentary. He couldn't go to the studio like everybody else. We're here doing the podcast in his house. We only really did that for Crave?
But like I was saying, on the way over here, training number one said, we're going to talk about some Chris Benoit because I recently found the Hard Knocks Chris Benoit documentary. I don't know if you've seen it before. I'm sure
I
you
own
have.
it, yes.
You own it. That must be a rare piece of merchandise because I recently found the first documentary disc. Training number one for always. He's had the second disc of just the Benoit matches, and he kept asking me, "Where the hell is this documentary? God damn it!"
For years, I had it was just lost in the mix of all my piles of wrestling crap. You know what I mean?
Apparently, it got mixed in with some Monster Mack show props, and it was in one of them totes. So I recently found it, and I watched it, and I gave it to training number one. Finally, thankfully he ended up watching it today. So training number one.
I watched it yesterday.
And you watched it today.
I did not watch it today.
No, but you watched it yesterday, and let's talk about Chris Benoit.
Listen, I know as your friend, Chris Benoit, one of your favorite wrestlers of all time. Probably your favorite?
Macho Man's my favorite.
I knew that. But up there, right? Probably number two.
Yeah.
Really, one of your guys that you looked up to.
Yes.
And right now, he's completely erased from pro wrestling history.
Yes.
Well, not completely, because I did see him on demand on Nitro. The Four Horsemen cut a promo.
Only during promos, he's in the background.
He doesn't talk though. He just hangs
Never
out
talks.
in the background.
Yep.
And
Rubbing his hands together.
They go to a fan shot, so that way they can completely cut him out. And then they'll come back, and he'll still be in the background rubbing his hands together. But I did see him recently on demand. Made me very happy. Only because I watched that documentary. Fantastic documentary, by the way.
It was really good. It was a very good documentary. Now, Scott Levesque, what did you think about when the Benoit shit went down?
I was in denial, obviously.
Right away? Straight away you were in denial?
Yeah.
Did you take the Kevin Sullivan route like most? Most Benoit supporters take the Kevin Sullivan went in there and did his demon stuff.
I thought about maybe a second.
It was there, right?
Yeah.
The thought
it
was there.
Yeah.
And,
Man, I don't know how to equate this, but let's just say, imagine you're a big basketball fan.
Right.
Right?
No, I'm not, but yeah, continue.
Let's just say you are, and
You
you're
find
into the Chicago Bulls.
You find
or
out
something.
Michael Jordan.
Maybe you maybe not Michael Jordan because he's the best, but maybe the second best, Scottie Pippen. And you've got all the Scottie Pippen photos, autographed photos, the Scottie Pippen jersey, and he's so well respected. No one says a bad word about him. Then all of a sudden he kills his wife and his kid.
Yeah.
What the hell? Right?
And
What the hell?
himself. You throw that out there too. Maybe not Scott. Maybe Rodzilla. I can see Rodman doing that.
Well, he's a wild card. Anyway,
yeah, exactly. Wild card.
That would be a believable thing if Rodman did that.
Right?
shit,
Yeah.
you know?
Rodman went crazy.
He's crazy.
No, but Benoit, totally different story. Nobody's seen that coming, right?
Nobody.
Now,
Before that happened, I don't think anybody could say a bad word about Benoit.
Yeah. I mean, he was a quiet dude.
He just reached his breaking point. Whatever happened, I don't know.
No, what? This is where I wanted to talk about steroids a little earlier, but what do you think it was? Do you think it was just something snapped in his head and he went crazy,
He just snapped.
Everybody's oh, he got hit with chairs and he did steroids.
I believe no, nothing to do with steroids.
The steroids thing I think is just such an easy go-to.
He just reached his breaking point in life, I think, and he just lost it.
That's probably what it was, but the media,
I didn't want to get into this until later, but let me just tell you a story. Again, we were talking about RDW earlier, and I had no talent. I can admit that. I had no athletic ability, and
but the potential was there, obviously. Like
eventually, yeah.
even if you look back at any of those old ACW shows, you can clearly see who the people who are going to stick around are.
Yeah.
Even like you said before, like RDW. I mean, we've sat around and watched your old RDW tapes, like at Pat's house back
I'm
in the
talking
day.
like early RDW.
Even before that, yeah.
Like I was taking like shots to the head constantly, like because that's all I could do.
Yeah,
you know? So I wasn't trying to get over by taking like the most shots to the head because I thought that was cool, but that was so freaking stupid, you know. And I equate that to like the other day, like maybe a week ago. This is a shoot.
Yeah.
I went to the gym. I had the same locker combination for the past 4 years at the gym, using that combination every single day. And all of a sudden, last week, I went to do my combination, and I forgot it. I totally forgot it, and I have no explanation to why I forgot it, except maybe all the concussions I've gotten throughout
Just
the years.
undiagnosed concussions
Yeah,
that were never taken
definitely.
care of from like foolish stuff when you were a kid.
Yeah.
And you think,
So I cringe to even like fathom what'll happen when I'm like 60. You know what I'm saying?
right, but you're obviously taking steps to stay away
Oh
from
yeah,
that
yeah,
kind
yeah,
of
yeah,
stuff
yeah,
at this point because you don't want to
yeah.
keep concussing yourself, basically.
Yeah.
Do you think WWE made a good decision by putting that effect in by nothing but like back chair
Oh,
shots?
definitely, yeah.
Because that really could do some damage to you over time.
Now, I don't know, man. Like I was always a huge Benoit fan, and I know you were too.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, a lot of us were fans of that. The smaller, considering most of us. I mean, I'm not tall. He's not tall. Like we're not huge guys. We were always a fan of the smaller guys who went in there and like tore it up. Like I remember calling Peter Crave the day that it happened, and he was like in Florida or something, and I like left a voicemail like, "Crave, call me back. Benoit's dead." And
You left
so
me a
was his-
voicemail too, yeah.
See,
Yeah.
why am I the one that does that? How does that happen? How does that come about? Like, you hear me leave a voicemail on your phone, tell you like the Benoit shit went down. Like, you say you go into denial right away. Now, what about like later that day when we're sitting there watching like Raw? And were you at our house that night?
No, I watched it at home.
You watched it at home.
Yeah.
And you see the show go from like
Like a tribute show.
to like halfway through. People are like,
I think the
Chris Benoit is just a great wrestler, and that's all I can say.
defining moment was Regal's
Regal,
deal.
right? Exactly. Yeah. Regal was like, all I can say right now is
He was
Benoit
the
was
best, yeah.
the best
And
in the
that's it.
ring, and that's it.
Yeah.
Because the information was like slowly starting to leak out,
Yeah.
and just the story itself, man, is mind-boggling. Like,
It is.
and then there's these things now. Like, I don't know if you've seen it on like online with like 100, like what is it, like 12 reasons why Chris Benoit didn't kill his family. Have you seen that?
I haven't seen that.
And it's all these like weird, like Benoit said this to Chavo at this time in a text message when he was supposed to have already been dead, and blah blah. Like it's all these things that make you believe that there's something else. Mainly, Kevin Sullivan is the lead, and I don't know why. I know obviously there's legitimate heat. There was legitimate heat between Benoit and Sullivan or whatever.
Stole his wife.
Right? Yeah. Now Benoit stole Sullivan's wife.
Yeah.
While cheating on his wife from
His
the
current
previous.
wife,
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I had to explain that to Mack on the way up here. He had no idea.
Yeah.
It was a weird part of the documentary of Hard Knocks that.
'Cause he doesn't mention it because he's not.
Yeah, he was
He
kind of
wasn't
like, "Oh,
proud
I
of it,
prefer not to
obviously.
mention
Yeah.
that," or something like that.
Yeah.
So it kind of threw me off a little bit. So Trini had to fill me in.
Now, like, after the whole story comes out, what are you feeling? Like, what are you thinking?
I was obviously in denial,
Yeah, just
because that was one of my favorite wrestlers.
yeah. Now, how do you feel about the way that they're handling it? Do you think that Benoit should have been erased from wrestling history? Like this is legitimate. I was shopping the other day, and a store that I was in had like a big section of WrestleManias, right? And it's like 1 through 16,
Yeah.
and then it skips from 16 to 23, and then it's 23 to 29 or 28 or whatever
Because he was a focal point during those wrestling.
during those manias, and they just cut it out. They don't even sell those. I mean, I bought WrestleMania 10 with because Bret and Owen is a good. That's Bret Owen and Shawn and Razor, right? It's the ladder match. WrestleMania 12. I bought a few, like, I don't know, I spent like $40. I shouldn't have. It's too much money for WrestleMania DVDs. Yeah. But I bought them, and, like, they just cut him out of wrestling completely. Like, how do you feel, like, as one of your favorite wrestlers, is this the same, you feel the same way about Benoit getting erased, like, say, Macho not getting inducted into the Hall of Fame?
Yeah. It's on the same level. I don't think, like, there should be the Benoit edit, you know.
Do you think that'll eventually go away over time?
Oh, man, I don't know.
We can only hope so. We're all crossing our fingers, but I don't know. That's a tough one.
I can clearly see where they're coming from.
Yeah,
because
I can too. Yeah.
It's literally like, this dude murdered, but they're not cutting out snookerfly matches, and he killed that hooker.
Yeah.
I mean, allegedly,
yeah.
Allegedly killed that hooker, and he got inducted to the Hall of Fame. Is that gonna? You think that's gonna be the deal here? Like, just enough time passes.
Well, he's never gonna be in the Hall.
Or the fact that just Benoit like killed his wife, who was also involved in wrestling. Like, yeah, you think like if you think they'll ever come out with like a Benoit DVD?
No, never.
Like 10 years from now, you can't picture like Vince like, I remember hearing that night I blew up in a limousine. The next night I was like, I can't be blown up in a limousine. Benoit killed everybody.
Yeah. Thankfully, they already made a Benoit DVD and you own it, so you're all set.
I know.
Right, we kind of went a little off topic here, which is, I mean, it's okay. This is the Mack Cast. It's what we do. We kind of just go, we jib jab, we talk back, we get into some crazy stuff. But I want to get into, like you said, NECW. We were talking, like you worked with NECW the same time you were working for WCW. I'm sorry, ACW. I apologize. I'm taking Mack's bad habits now. You did like the Iron 8 tournament where you worked with Guido. Is that like way after now? Or
yeah, that's way after.
Oh man, what am I missing here?
We're glossing over.
We're glossing. This man, he comes prepared with his notes.
Around the same time, I was getting into like top rope for my first run. Lombardi actually opened the door for me to go work with Mike
Spada.
Right?
I knew that.
Mike Spada.
No, I was gonna say there are a lot of stories out there considering Sparta going after Rikishi with a samurai sword.
With a sword, yeah.
And like just crazy
I wish
shit.
I was there, yeah.
Now, how was your experiences working in WWA for Sparta?
Not entirely positive. I was happy because my first show with him, I worked my first star, which was former WWF referee turned wrestler, Dangerous Danny Davis.
Refler, as Showcase has coined the phrase. Refler, R-E-F-L-E-R, yeah. It's like wrestler, but refler, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you worked Danny Davis. That's your first payday? Or?
No, because he had the stipulation.
No paydays the first time you work for him, right?
First time you work for him, he's just taking a look at you and no paydays. So he always had a string of shows.
Yeah, he would do double shots all the time.
Double shots, like back-to-back nights.
Right,
so
using
those
the same
two
stars.
nights.
Generally the same matches, both nights, just in different places.
Yeah.
Now, did you work Danny Davis both nights, or?
I'm not sure who I worked the second night, but I worked Danny the first night, and everything was fine. You know.
Yeah, good match.
Marking out, and
this guy wrestled
simple,
Bret Hart or whatever, right? He was in the WrestleMania.
He was in the initial Hart Foundation back in the day.
Yeah.
Jimmy Hart, the Hart Foundation, and like Danny Davis. So it was a mark out moment. You know, definitely.
Did you get paid the second day too, or was that like the classic Sparta, like forgot to pay you kind of deal?
No, the first string, like he wouldn't pay you.
The first string, just both dates.
Yeah.
Now you started wrestling for WWA, right, at the time?
Yeah.
Or whatever he ran. Do you have any like crazy Sparta stories from stuff you've seen? Just how
yeah, because the Danny Davis was the first time I worked for him, and I worked the following night wrestling someone else. They brought us in, like, me and Eric Dillon initially. And the second time I worked for him, the second string of shows, I
didn't even know. Toxic Twins, you guys did the Toxic Twins?
No.
They're just Scott Levesque and Eric Dillon?
No, you just brought us in at the same time.
Yeah. I thought when you said that, I thought you were tagging. I'm sorry.
No. And this time we were supposed to get paid. This time he brought in Eugene the following month, and I was set to wrestle Eric Dillon and Don Vega in a three-way
The big three-way.
And we wrestled, and Don Vega kept on like throwing me outside the ring, and he started like laying it in on Eric Dillon with chops. And I would come in, try to work, and he would like dump me out again.
And then lay some more chops on and everything.
Then lay some more chops on Eric Dillon.
Right.
Then come in again, like throw me back out again, and then like hit the finish on Eric Dillon. And I was like, okay. So I go to the back, and Don Vega goes, "Hey man, Sparta came up to me and said, hey, lay it in on those two dudes and really fuck them up. Yeah. Just have them pay their dues."
You reach your F limit, I'm going to have to cut you off, all right? But
I'm okay with it. You can drop as many F-bombs as you want, Levesque. So Don Vega just he didn't want to take any liberties on you.
Yeah, that's what he said. He said, "Hey man, that's why I was, dumping you out the whole time during the match, because I didn't want to mess you up. So that's why I was doing it to Eric Dillon."
No.
That's what Sparta wanted.
Yeah.
He wanted to
Why
mess
do
you guys
why do
up.
you think that was? Was it
Don't
just
know.
a lesson to
Maybe.
the newer guys in his company?
Because we're
or
new, I guess.
No idea.
Yeah.
So what ended up happening from there? What was the next match that you had for him?
I had another match like the following night. I think we got paid.
Because he ran the back-to-back shows.
Yeah.
Usually.
Then they brought us in like a third time the following month, and that's when I wrestled Danny Davis again.
And that's what that becomes a problem.
There was a slight problem. I introduced myself to Danny. I said, "Hey, I'm the guy who wrestled you,
A couple months ago, whatever it was.
months ago," and he didn't remember who I was.
Just didn't remember you at all.
Not at all. And he said we were talking there, and I was like, all right. And we end up wrestling, and there was a slight problem. I guess I messed up. There was a botched spot, and he flipped out, man.
In the locker room or in the ring? Or?
In the ring, he was pretty mad.
Yeah, you could tell right away he was
just
pissed.
tell.
Yeah.
And when we got to the back, he started complaining to Sparta, saying, "Hey, don't ever put me with that guy again. He's the shits, blah, blah, blah." And and that was the second show of the weekend, and I was expecting to get paid, and I didn't because Danny was bitching, And I guess the whole botch was I had him in a rest hold. He called a big knee for me to do. And, obviously a big knee is a kitchen sink.
You say obviously. I don't think of kitchen sink when I think big knee.
Yeah.
I think of high knee.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, high knee. So he's hitting the ropes. I do a high knee, and it was so awkward, like
he
botch.
does like a forward roll bump from your high knee.
Mm-hmm.
And he was just pissed
And
at
I
that
put
point.
him, I cover him, then I put him in a rest hold, and he's just swearing at me, man. Yeah, so I'm swearing at him back, trying to call spots, but he's not listening to me. So he just, finished me right there,
You guys just went home right from that point. He was just done.
Put me in the sharpshooter, crappy-ass sharpshooter, by the way, and I tapped out, Then shit canned me out of the ring, and when I went to the back, he was flipping out.
How did you get the in initially to WWA? Sparta.
Paul Lombardi.
Lombardi again?
Uh-huh.
I forgot he worked those Sparta shows.
Yeah.
Now, Lombardi got you in for WWA. Did you work again for Sparta after that occasion?
No, this is already my
Your third time working there.
Third time working.
And that was just it. That was done.
That was it. Afterwards, he was all set with me because Danny pulled a tantrum.
Yeah, and he was using Danny Davis a lot at that time. He was like every show.
I think that was his champion. Yeah,
I believe so. Yeah. So you're all done working for Sparta. Where are you working this time?
I think at this time I just quit Top Rope.
Right.
To focus for ACW.
You quit Top Rope as Scott Levesque.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So you quit Top Rope. You focusing on WCW. You still doing the tag team stuff over there?
Yeah.
Now, at any point do you feel like almost like stale?
I'm telling you right now, like after the whole Danny Davis thing and Mike Sparta thing, like I felt so demoralized and so down that I wanted to quit the business right there, man.
You were ready to just QTB right there.
Like I worked 2 shows, expecting like the second show to have that payday.
Yeah.
And because Danny ran his mouth, I got nothing.
So would you consider that?
And
your
Bob
first-
Holly was there, by the way, and he
You kind of witnessed that whole Danny Davis.
I was so
going
embarrassed. Yeah.
So would you consider that your first major speed bump in the wrestling business?
Oh yeah, definitely.
And so what happened from there? How'd you pick yourself up and get back on track?
From there, I got booked for NECW.
I say.
I'm not sure who booked me. I just, I think people were trying to get me in there. Like Nick Steele, I would see Nick Steele at my gym, and Nick Steele would watch me at ACW shows, early on. And he gave me like a cool compliment, like early on, saying like I reminded him of GQ Smooth,
Oh.
And I was like, oh wow,
I was, I was
because,
always a GQ Smooth fan.
I was a
Hip
mark for
toss
GQ
time,
Smooth,
baby.
so I was, I took that as a compliment.
Oh, Dr. Harris.
And at the time, Nick Steele was working for NECW, so I guess he mentioned me. And my second Top Rope show, I think that was the first time Rich Bass met me, and he reffed my match with Freight Train, and it was a good match. And I guess he was trying to get me in there. And during that dress match, when I put over Eric Dillon and Sean Candido, which was supposed to be my
your goodbye match.
my goodbye match, I guess Matt Storm was there, and I guess he was scouting me. And
So I'm sure it must feel good to have all this recognition. Guys are recognizing you, trying to get you in different, better positions and stuff like
definitely,
that.
yeah.
I'm sure that was a good lift up from after this, your first speed bump that happened with Danny Davis.
Mm-hmm. And that happened right after, so that picked me back up.
Oh, that's
definitely.
very good. So you're still in tag teaming right now. When does the official transition of Whaling City Wrestling? I know I'm probably glossing a little bit, but I keep calling ACW Whaling City Wrestling, so I want the transition to happen.
Yeah,
so I
that
can
happened.
stop calling
That happens
it.
about a year later.
A year
Where we're
later.
at right now, yeah.
So you're still in the tag team divisions.
Yep.
You're what, 3-time tag team champion?
Probably 2-time at this point, yeah.
2-time at this point, and you're officially done with Top Rope at the time.
Yes, at this time, yeah.
So where does this all lead? Your tag team?
Then I think Paul Lazan's promotion starts up his first show, and he's
Lethal Paul.
Lethal Pro Wrestling.
Again, another person I want to do a podcast
Oh,
with.
he's awesome.
I think that would be a good one. Maybe you and Lethal Paul.
Sure, why not?
Yeah, why not? Right?
We're gonna have to dip into the Monster Mag budget and buy a few more microphones.
Yeah, of course. But so LPW starts running. This is when they're in that mill in Fall River.
Yes.
Okay, so he pretties up that mill. We
Awesome venue,
we
by
got
the
drunk
way.
one time and
Yeah.
went and seen you wrestle.
Yeah, that was their first show, I think.
Their first show,
Crowned the first ever.
and
LPW
you wrestled
champion.
Rick Fuller.
Yes. yes, I
Another
did.
name. Must feel good to be one of
My
the
second
guys
name,
to
yeah.
come in and wrestle some of the names for the
Mhm.
promotion. I enjoyed the show. I thought it was a really nice venue. They cleaned up a nice mill, painted it all up, and
all black. It was pretty cool with
Yeah.
a skull on it. Yeah.
it must feel really good that other promotions are reaching out and you work in different places. Did you get any heat from ACW at the time for working different places?
Not for that. It was weird because I was working
So it was only Top Rope
Only Top
that
Rope.
they gave you shit for.
yeah. So that's why I
Main
think
rival, I guess.
Yeah.
So.
that's how I know there was major heat there at that time.
See,
Yeah.
I want to have Jamie, Sean Candido.
he
I
would
wanna
be
do
a good guest.
I want to do a Candido podcast.
Oh, definitely.
I want to do a Ricard podcast too. It's little known Monster Mac fun. We're cool with Ricard, me and you,
I'm a big fan of Steve Ricard.
and we've both done random top rope stuff. I wrestled at a strip club for Ricard before, and Holyoke Joe and all that weird shit. So
Invited to the Spin City Rumble.
a couple times, right?
Yeah, a few times.
So I wanna sit down and find out how Ricard felt at the time with Candido, them two being feuds, how it was from the other side, because I know how it was from the Candido side.
This is from what I hear. I think Sean Candido at the time for South Coast, maybe Yankee Pro, he was the booker.
Right? Yeah, I think
Steve
for
Ricard
both.
was just a cameraman
Yeah,
initially.
and then
Then
he did-
eventually a booker.
He wrestled too before that, but yeah,
I don't know.
Crazy Mexican. You don't know that?
Whatever.
Yeah.
He was a cameraman. I remember
Yeah.
as a fan seeing him do camera.
right. Yeah.
So I'm assuming Sean Candido was booking. And maybe Sean Candido booked South Coast when Steve Ricard got promoted to a booker
was
for
booking
Yankee.
for Yankee.
So
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe there's heat there. I don't know.
Well, of course, there's heat there. The heat stems from apparently a long time ago. I want to get to the bottom
So
of all
get them
that.
both on, man.
I don't know if we can do it
Preferably
at the same time.
I don't
I don't
do
think,
it.
I don't think
You
that
can do it.
either
Work your
of them-
magic.
I don't think that either of them would be down for that.
Work your charm,
If it
T1.
happens, it's going to be in your log cabinet, right?
We're bringing Ricard and Candido here. We're all going to sit down. So you're working NECW.
LPW.
LPW, I'm sorry, LPW.
For that tournament.
And
yeah.
you wrestle Ric Fuller, and he
Rick Fuller
beats
the
the
first
shit out of
time.
you.
He ends up
To
beating
the point where I'm in the crowd and I'm like, oh crap, Scott Levesque can't beat up.
From your point of view,
Yeah.
tell me what happened.
From my point of view, there was a little botch.
Okay.
It was like a leapfrog deal or something.
Man, he was getting over the spot he wanted to do in the back, and we were calling it. And he's like, hey, he was emphasizing the spot where
Up and over, right?
He whips me into the corner.
Yes.
He wants me to do an up and over in the corner.
Right.
Land on my feet, hit the ropes, so he could hit this big spear.
Spear, right.
He wanted the spear to get over so bad he emphasized
Yeah.
it over and over again. And
So in your head, all you're thinking is up and over spear, up and over spear,
Yep.
up and over spear.
so nervous, by the way. And he just came back from a tour from Japan.
Japan, yeah.
Maybe 2 tours. I don't know. He just came back from Japan, so he was really stiffer
Stiffer
than
than-
usual.
yeah,
you know.
okay.
So, but I think he let me chop him and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I got
yeah.
a little heat on him, but we do that up and over spot, up and over, and I freeze.
You just blanked out.
I just blanked out, and all I can remember is him saying, "All I wanted you to do is that effing spot, and you fuck it up in ring."
Yeah.
And
You got powerbombed
I think
into
he
oblivion.
forearmed me into oblivion.
Yeah.
I blanked out, and all I remember is being in the back. So I guess I watched the match, and I guess after that forearm,
You got powerbombed like a mamma jamma, dude.
I got
yeah.
power bombed. I sandbagged him because I was out on my
Out your
feet, and all I remember is in the back, coming to talking to Rob Hagen's little girl,
Like his daughter.
his daughter.
Yeah.
I can't recall anything
Like what you were talking. Nothing in between those 2
No.
points.
Nope.
But forearm, and then you wake up and you're talking to Rob Hagen's
Yep.
kid.
The first time I got knocked out in the match, man.
Just to fill you in, you got power bombed.
Yeah.
It was pretty odd.
Yeah.
I was there, and yeah, because I do remember thinking whoa, he got is Scott Levesque all right after that one? But so you hit your second speed bump in wrestling.
Yeah.
So where's
There's
the
a
lift
third.
me
There's a
up on
third
that?
speed bump
Well,
before I got
well,
to NECW.
Was that also for LPW?
No, that was for a spot show. I think the group was called NLP,
No Limit Pro?
No Limit Pro, and I was booked in the match with Eddie Edwards,
What's
Slick
his-
Wagner Brown.
What's Eddie Edwards' name now?
I think it's Eddie Edwards.
I know it's not, but he's got like a moniker.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what it is either. But sorry, continue. So
Uh,
you, Eddie
me,
Edwards,
Eddie Edwards.
SWB.
Slick Wagner and some guy Tommy Mack in a 4-way,
Tommy Mack's still around, actually, still working.
I guess.
I see him on the results when I read results for other
Really?
shows. Yeah, sometimes.
I guess. And during that match, we're brawling on the outside. 2 guys in, 2 guys out.
Is this the chip tooth deal?
Yep. And and Slick Wagner, throws my head against the post. I fail to protect myself, and I broke my front tooth. And
From taking the post to the face.
Yep, hard way. So I totally break my tooth. Right there.
I broke my tooth before back in France, way back in the day. My brother slammed my face on the hood of a car, and I failed to protect myself as well and chipped my tooth. I do got a sweet fake one now.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I
they-
never
they-
got mine fixed.
You
It's
never
been
got
like 4 years. Yeah.
Well,
It's not
I'm
very
a very
noticeable.
vain
It's
person.
not
you
very
know?
noticeable, dude. I'll tell you that right now.
No,
I
I
feel
think it's noticeable.
I
Every time
can
I
see it
smile,
now that
yeah.
like we're talking about it, but I generally don't think about it.
I'm very insecure about it.
So SWB slams your face into the post, you break your tooth. Like there's always that weird you can taste it.
Yeah.
I don't I don't know how to describe it other than you can taste when a tooth is broken. So you feel that?
I feel it, and I see like the chipped tooth on the floor, and I grab it, and I see Jordan on the sitting ringside.
Jordan,
like
your old bodyguard, like
my old bodyguard, Fat Jordan.
yeah.
And I see him like sitting at ringside, and like.
By the way, we didn't touch on the strap match you guys had.
No, I was hoping you guys would gloss over.
No,
that.
you think we'd just forget all about that strap match? All right, continue your story though. So you see Jordan.
And I just passed him like my broken tooth.
Yeah, hold this.
Yeah.
Don't lose this shit, kid.
Super glue that one back on later.
We just super glue it back on.
Some super glue to do the job.
Yeah.
Do you still have it?
Yeah, I have it somewhere. Yeah.
Is it like taped to a Scott Levesque scrapbook? You just have it like glued in there.
I've got it somewhere. Yeah.
That's pretty funny. So, you hit your third speed bump in wrestling. Danny Davis is pissed off at you. Rick Fuller beat you up.
Mm-hmm.
You chip your tooth.
Mm-hmm.
How are you feeling?
I'm a very vain person, by the way.
Right.
I'm into my looks.
Yeah.
You know.
Your personal looks.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you just bang your smile is no longer the same to you.
Yeah.
From that point on.
You lost your smile.
You lost your smile. All because of pro wrestling.
Yep.
Like, how do you feel? Say you're posing for a photo with your family, and you got a big smile on your face, and you see it, and you see that little.
It's never a toothy smile anymore.
It's never. See,
the past 4 years.
It's just always like mouth closed, kind of smile. I'm happy, but not that happy to be here.
Well, you do still own it, so you ever think about just popping it in for the picture or something? Maybe for the time being.
Holy crap, everybody! That is the end of Part 2 with Scott Levesque. Scott Levesque Part 2, Electric Boogaloo, as I like to call it. This interview went so long that we had to split it up into another piece. So there will be a Scott Levesque Part 3. But until then, ladies and gentlemen, I am signing off for both me, Mack, and Levesque. And remember to always go to MassaMack.net for, I'd have to say, the #1 masked French tag team podcast on the internet. All right, ladies and gentlemen, remember, MassaMack.net, that's the place to go, and we love you all.